Hey guys, this is Paul from Smart Easy DIY. Welcome to the next video in my garage build series. So this is episode 18 of the garage build series, and what we're going to be doing today is sheeting the wall most of the way up for some shear strength and also straightening the walls, getting ready to set trusses. So I'm going to cover that in this video. Okay, so I'm going to show you that I got sheeting done on this wall, 8 feet up. I'm going to leave the top 4 feet for now because I got my walls all braced up. So I wanted to get this on for some shear strength before we set trusses. So I got that all up all the way across. I kept my plywood up off the bottom a little bit. I am going to do a Z flashing there, but in case moisture would ever get in there and sit a little bit, I wanted to have a little bit of a gap. And the concrete isn't perfect right over there. It's a little bit tighter, so I kind of wanted to split the difference. So I got that done. Then I was going to show you over on this side what I do for straightening this out, just for checking to see how straight the bottom is, make sure that I clear 4 feet. I want to have a nice straight line going down through here, so I want to raise it about 1/4 inch. So what I did is set up my chalk line here. It's a little unfortunate because my windows are at 4 feet, so it's going to raise it up a little bit, but I can just trim that a little bit. So I hook a chalk line over there on that end with a screw, and then over here, just to hold it. I found this works really good for tightening it. I put one right here, and this is an old mark here, but I put the screw instead of center like on that other end. I hook it to one side and then tighten it up, and then I put another screw around the corner, wrap it around there, pull it nice and tight, and you can see it's nice and straight down through there. Hopefully you can see that. Nice thing with doing a chalk line is then you can snap a line. If you just do a straight line, then you got to still mark it just like a regular line, mason line. But with this, you can go in the middle, check it, and then snap it both ways. So that works really good for getting a straight line to start with. Okay, so I'm starting sheeting over here, and it's a little bit left-handed to go from here this way for me, but I want to try it because I want to start from this end of the building. That's how I did it over there. So what I do is I just make marks every stud layout on top of the sheet, because it's very important to space these studs where they go. Now this one I like to keep it up about 1 foot or so, because it'll give me something to reference to when I'm nailing. This one I can't space the studs, but they're already spaced at the bottom. That's just something to know where to nail to. So if you laid your building out correctly, you should be able to go exactly flush. Now I plumbed these ends up here with the level, made sure that they're good. Okay, so I should be good to go right on my mark there, right even with the end. So now that I got that, I like to go over on this end and then get that laid out center there. Now I know that's on layout. I like to go make sure that this bottom is good right here, because you can still rack it a little bit if that bottom isn't nailed. But the reason for doing that was just to get it up so it's right in the same plane. Now you can do all these on layout. That's how you straighten those all out. Now I'm going to go through and nail the bottom. These are galvanized, so I can use these. Now I like making those marks because you can just kind of eyeball down. And if you can't eye a straight line, then you can make some marks in the middle of the sheet or wherever you need to. Now that's all nailed off. I like to nail the edges and then do 5 in the field. You might be able to get away with 4 in the field if you space them correctly, but I like to do 5 instead of just 4. I'm using 8-penny ring shank nails, and these are actually galvanized, the ones that I have. So I'm just using galvanized for everything. So that way I can nail into the bottom plate as well, because you should use galvanized for nailing in the bottom. And I like to nail the bottom in between each stud as well, every 8 inches, just to make sure that that is locked together nicely. Alright, well I do apologize it got dark on me, so the footage didn't turn out good to show you how I sheeted the rest of that wall. Basically I just started with a full sheet, and then the next row above it I started with a half a sheet. So I offset the joints on the sheet by 4 feet. So that's typically what you do when you're sheeting a wall, things like that. So just wanted to clarify what I did there. Alright, well I got sheeting up 2 rows all the way around, and the back, all 3 sides. So then what I did is I went through and braced this wall. That way it's nice and straight across the top. I got some different braces down through there. About every section of wall, every 16 feet, except here it's 8 feet, approximately. And I could add more if the wall is not very straight, which that straightened it right up. But what I wanted to tell you, I want to kind of explain the process when I'm doing this wall. Because that wall, I wanted to do it first and then be able to explain the process a little bit. So here's what I found that works really good for me. So first of all, well, I got the first wall done. I got that straight, plumb, everything ready to go. This one here, since I'm leaving this end wall off, what I did first is I went through and measured exactly what the bottoms are and made the top exactly the same, because that's going to affect how straight the wall is. Since I'm leaving this off, I wanted to brace these ends really well because I want to be able to drive in there. I actually got that rigged up right now. So I want to be able to drive through there with the trusses. That's my plan. So leave this wall out, and so I have to brace this really well. So here you can see I have my string lines set up. These string lines are so handy. So what I did, this is really easy figuring. So I just did an 1.5 inch block, just a chunk of 2x6, screwed it on the end there, and I put a screw on the end that's angled. So it's angled this way so that it pulls tight against when I'm pulling on the other end. So then what I did the same thing down over here, which I'll try to show you up close, but up on the step ladder it's a little hard to show you this, so I'm hoping that you can see this okay. So on the opposite end, I'm doing this right up at the top plate, doing the same thing. Got a block up there, got a screw there, and it's tipped this way, that way it pulls it in tight. And then I go through at every section where the braces are, and I use another chunk of 2x6 or 2x4, whatever, same scrap, and then I put that there for a spacer. If I have to use two hands to move this brace, I screw the block actually right there, right above, and then I can adjust that perfectly out to that string. And then so I do that where all the braces are, then I go down on the end and check it and see how straight it is. If it's perfectly straight, I don't need to add any. This is a bigger span here. If it's not perfectly straight, if I got a slight curve in the wall, I can add a brace wherever I need to make this wall perfectly straight. So that's how I do it, and I make that string really nice and tight. The other thing that I did is I went through and added one more stake at the bottom. So these are all double staked down through here. These are the really long stakes, so that's why they're not in all the way. They're in nice and solid, but on this end there was a little bit more fill, so I wanted to use the long stakes. But what I did, yeah, just at the bottom, double stake them all. That way, these are really secure. Just wanted to double secure them, you know? And then when I go up and straighten them, I also put 2 or 3 screws on the ends of those instead of just one, because they just have one from setting the walls. So from setting the walls, we just got them close. Now that we're finalizing everything, I want to screw them extra good so they for sure stay right where they need to go. Okay, so this is a top-down view of what I did right here. You can see down through there. Now you can see this wall, see how it goes back and forth a little bit. It's not too bad, but it's out a little. But it's more like 2 inches probably away from the string instead of 1.5 inches. So it's in a little bit. So here I got my block set up, and I make these really tight, like I said, and these things here, you can just set it up here somewhere so it doesn't fall down, but it doesn't interfere with the string. One thing nice with blocking your string out like this is if you have knots on there previously from using it, loops down through there, if you have it tight against, they'll rub, but being out here 1.5 inches, they won't interfere at all. So that's one reason also I put this screw close to the end, is because the knot that I made is out here and I didn't want it to hold this out at all, because it could hold it out like that, but I wanted it nice and tight. And like I said, I tipped the screw so that it pulls it tight against when it's tight. So now the next thing to do is just to go down through there and get them all adjusted. Now I can't stress enough how important it is that you plumb your end walls, that they're perfectly secure before you do any of this, because this middle can go back and forth. The ends have to stay perfectly where they are, and they have to be right on measurement. So that way when you do this, you don't mess anything else up. Okay, so the first thing that I usually do, this brace leaning up here, I put a screw under there to support it. That way when I pull that out, it won't fall down on me, because you would only have so many hands. Next thing, I like to put this block on here just to make so I don't have to use too many hands. So I usually screw it down in here. Now, you can see how far out that is. See, it's probably about a 3/8 of an inch. Yeah, it's just under a 3/8. So that was just eyeballing it. But now, what I do is take this loose, and it's not going to go far because all the others are supporting it. Now I'm going to start this in a new spot, because I could pick this up and stuff, but I'm just going to start it in a new spot. Okay, check it out. Right there on that block. See how that lines up perfectly?
I love it. That's so awesome. This one is actually kind of a tough one because it's only an 8-foot span from the end. Over there it's a 16. But problem was it had to go so far, and I went down and to see if the middle was really far out. It's only an 1/8 out because I thought maybe if I release that I can get this to go easier. But what I ended up doing, just to use something to my advantage, see this screw right here? I just put that in here. And then this was still here to support it, so I was just able to pull that up. And it worked perfectly. I was able to go look under here to do it, and I couldn't wear the camera for that because it was just too awkward. So I wanted to show you. Then I put 3 screws in here. Now I can remove these. I just wanted to show you the process. By the way, I got a new hammer last night. I'm not crazy fan of DeWalt for some reason. Just never have been. But it feels pretty good in the hand. This thing, I'm looking for a lighter hammer. I want a lighter but still a straight claw. That's pretty hard to find. So I want something that I can do trim or finish with. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I'm not ready to spend the money on a Martinez or something like that yet. It is something you use every day, but this is random. Anyway, these are not too bad expensive. They're kind of middle of the road maybe. 45 somewhere around there, but I'll put a link down in the video description if you do want to check it out, if you're interested in it. But so far, I'm pretty happy with it. Haven't really got to use it much, but I like that it's lightweight because I have so many tools on me all the time that it's nice to have something lighter weight. But anyway, so that's the process there. So we'll go down through there, do it at every section, and then I'll show you how it turned out. Okay, so it might not be the easiest to see down through there, but overall, looks really good. Down at that very end, that last plate has a little bit of a curve in it. It's just the actual plate. I think I can straighten that with the truss. So that's my straightest wall over there. I'm going to set everything with that, and then the trusses, I'm going to set and make this wall come and go a little bit, like if it needs just to tweak back and forth a little bit. So that's how you get the final stuff. This just gets it really close. So as I'm laying out my top wall plate for trusses, what I'm doing is 2-foot centers. So again, just like wall layout and stuff, I'm going 3/4 inch under, doing the X right where the truss sits. And then in my case, since I have these 3/4 inch plywood gussets on the side, I'm making an extra mark here just in case, 3/4 inch back, just in case I can't see this mark. I'm going to do that. I'm hopeful that that's not going to be an issue, but I am going to make that mark. So right here, 3/4 inch back. So then what I like to do for the main mark, because I don't want to get confused with that other one, and you can do that 3/4 mark after you make this one if you want. Just use your square, make a 3/4 mark. But I like to also do a mark down here, maybe on the outside, but we're going to be inside the whole time setting trusses. So I just usually make a mark like this. Then I'll do a little tick mark here, because that was my other thought, is I could see under here if I can't see this one. I'm just going to show you really quick how I do that. 2-foot layout all the way down. So I have a 35-foot tape, but when that runs out, what I do is usually put a screw or a nail or something at the correct spot, and I check it. Like, say if I drove the screw and it ended up being like that, I check it with the next one. I want to make sure I'm always on layout like that. So you can either do like the walls where you do from then on, then you do from the 2-foot mark on, or if you put your screw or nail right in the middle of this one, then you can continue your layout so you don't get confused to be the same. That way it's like always 3/4 inch under, so that the X is right in the center. So hopefully that makes sense. So you can play around with that one if you have some layout already on the wall. You can set your screw, and most tape measures have that slot right there to hook it in. So you can do that and then test it on the next one. And then you can adjust your screw or nail as necessary. Well, good morning, guys. It is truss day. What a beautiful day. Beautiful September day. The smoke is lifted, so it's been really nice. We've been getting smoke blown in from Oregon and Idaho. We had some local fires here in Montana as well. It's now lifted, so that's awesome. Beautiful for working. So what I wanted to talk to you about is I had gone through and showed you how I straightened the walls, got them all ready to go. So then I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I prepped for trusses here. So the first truss, the end truss, is the most important to get that secure, make sure that you're safe and all that, get it set where you want. So what I did, since I have a garage door right here, it makes it a little bit interesting for bracing, but I do have that center part right there. So what I came up with is I decided to do one sheet of plywood in the middle there and turn it upright just to help support that center part. And then it would give me the correct spacing on that going all the way up, because I already had my plywood on. So everything was spaced a 1/2 inch off. So here in the center, that's what I decided to do. So when I go to fasten the peak of the truss up there, I'm going to have to space that with a 1/2-inch plywood. This is just temporary. So I'm going to use a 1/2-inch chunk of plywood or something to make so it's all the same plane up at the peak. So that's my plan there. So what I did is I did a 2x6 that's 16 feet long. My peak of my truss stands up about 11 feet higher than that. So I put another 16-footer on there. I screwed it all together really well. I locked it in with some blocking here on the side of the doorway. So that will secure that really well. And then what I did is I ran this long brace all the way down, 26 feet. I double staked that as well, double screwed it and everything. So that should be good. And then I put a 2x4 here to make that stronger this way. That should help support that. That's about 3/4 of the way up the truss. So that should be good, I think. I didn't want it too close to the bottom. Didn't want it too close to the top. I kind of wanted it to help support everything. So I think that should work there. So the peak is the most important because that's the tallest part and it's way up there. Kind of the weakest part in a way. I don't know that it's the weakest part, but it's got the most flex. So then down here, since I didn't have any plywood here, I thought about doing another sheet of plywood, but it's going to stick up too far. So I went in tight on this one. Then I don't have to space that up there. But I got that secured with blocking on the other side over there. And then I also have it secured into this brace coming down right here. So I figured that's a really good spot for that. It's about halfway down or so from the peak. And then over here with the garage door, I couldn't do that, but the peak is going to be supported really well. So I went down to where I could anchor it right there. That's close to the bottom, but that'll just keep it from kicking off this end wall. So that's the main thing too, is to keep it from kicking too far this way. So when I get it set up there, I can go up, make sure it's good sideways, and the backhoe will hold it up there closed till I can get that secured as far as end ways, get the ends set where they need to go. Then I can anchor it into my supports there, and then that truss should be really good for temporary support. This end wall ended up needing some straightening. That's why there's 3 on here, but I also did want to add extra support here in the middle, close as I could to the middle, because that man door there is right in the dead center, but I didn't really want to put one that far over. So since this end had the garage door, I chose that to go for. So as I back up here, you can kind of see this is a pretty good visual of where the truss is going to go up there. And that's how I came up with bracing that. So as far as shear, the plywood will really hold this now for shear, but I did leave a couple braces in the corners because I want that just extra up high shear on that for bracing. And then everything else is braced for this way really well from the outside. So if you're wondering, why do I have plastic down on the floor here? It is because of this setup right here with the backhoe, and it leaks a little hydraulic fluid in random places, which if you have any kind of old equipment experience, you know how that is. So I don't want it dripping all over my new floor since I got to make 29 trips in here with trusses. So I figure, hey, this will protect my floor. It's left over from the flooring. So I put that down to drive over. So I have a friend that has this truss jib that he made for a skid steer. See how it's made to mount on a skid steer? You can kind of see the mount there. So I think it's about 16 feet total all the way there, and I needed all the height I can get because, like I said, this is almost 11 feet, and this is actually the end truss, so it's a little bit lower even, so these will be like 11.6. So I got this end truss over here. I got some straps that are 12 feet long, so I tried anchoring up here with shorter ones, hanging it there, but I just couldn't get quite the height I needed to clear. This is a 12-foot wall, so I needed all the height I could get. So I ended up with 12-foot straps, and they are there. These have like a 3,000 pound rating, I think. So, and this truss is probably less than 300 pounds. I got a D-ring kind of thing here. It's not quite like a normal D-ring, but it has a quick removable pin, so that's really nice. That's really handy for slipping the ends of these in here. Then I was going to show you this really quick. So what I did, since I modified this to fit my backhoe, I really wanted to use my backhoe if possible to save me some money. And I wanted to make sure that it's safe, so I've been doing some testing on it. What I did is I got this in here, and then I got some LVO in there, screwed together inside there just to make it really tight. I wedged it really tight, and that will keep it from going sideways. Also out here, I just did some scraps of wood that I have, and I angled them at a 45 since this thing's 45, so it'll keep it more secure. So that's all locked together. And then most of the weight is going to be in the center pulling down on this. So I got my come along here, which is a 2-ton. So that's hooked to a chain back in this pin right back here. So that's really tight and secure. I just ran the end through there, which looks like it got unhooked. I need to fix that. So I got these straps, which are really heavy duty straps. They have a 3,333 pound rating on that. So I got those secured to pull it sideways, make sure it can't go anywhere that way. And then I have one from this anchor point, since I don't need that. I have it running all the way through there and underneath the bucket, and it gets secured here. So that puts tension down against this thing pulling up, and then these ones pull tension against each other to the side. So that should work really well. I'm really happy with the setup, really happy how it worked out. And I tested it out with this. This will be the ultimate test, this first one, but I've been testing it out and it worked really good. So it's going to save me some good money on a rental. Problem is I can't even get a forklift rental around here. Everything's so booked out. I've been on the wait list for a long time, so finally I decided I'm going to just try to use what I have. This backhoe has been an amazing piece of equipment for me over the years. I'm going to use this and set it if at all possible. I got to do a little bit more prep and I'm ready to go.
Alright guys, well, it has begun. Truss Day coming up next in the next video. So hopefully I'll be able to get that out before too long. It's going to be next in the series. But this is super exciting. So we'll see how this all goes down in the next video. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate the support. Keep your eyes open for this video.